You're nothing but dead weight now, Dad. Maybe if you sold the house, you wouldn't be such a burden on me and Rick. That's what my only daughter, Emily, spat in my face the night after her mother's funeral. I'll never forget the way the lamplight hit her eyes, cold, hard, not the sweet little girl who used to sit on my shoulders at county fairs. She said it like I was some stranger who'd wandered into her life and overstayed his welcome. But let me back up. My name's Robert Hayes. Folks around Millerstown, Ohio, know me as Bob. I'm 58 years old, a retired auto plant worker who gave 35 years of sweat and a bad back to General Motors. My late wife, Carol, was the glue that held us together. She passed suddenly last spring, heart attack in her sleep. After that, the cracks in my family opened wide. We weren't wealthy, but the Hayes house on Willow Street has been in my family for 3 generations. I paid off the mortgage early by working double shifts. Every nail in those walls feels like part of me. But to Emily and her husband Rick, that house was nothing more than dollar signs. The night she called me dead weight, I just sat there, in Carol's recliner, clutching her old knitted blanket, staring at my daughter like she was someone else. Rick chimed in too, beer in hand. Bob, be reasonable. A man your age can't handle a house this size. Sell it, and we'll help you move into a nice condo. Hell, we'll even handle the paperwork. I knew what that meant. They wanted the house, either sold for cash or transferred to them. They figured I'd be too broken, too lonely to fight, but they didn't know me. Before I continue, if you're new here, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. That night, after they left in a huff, I sat in the silence of that house. The refrigerator hummed, the floorboards creaked above where Emily once played as a child, and for the first time since Carol passed, I felt something stirring inside me that wasn't just grief. It was resolve. Because if Emily and Rick thought I was just going to roll over, sell off my family's history, and fade quietly into the background, they had no idea what kind of fight their old man still had left in him. The very next Sunday, Emily and Rick showed up uninvited. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping my morning coffee, the smell of bacon still hanging in the air. I thought maybe they'd come to check on me, maybe share a meal like old times. But no, they had paperwork in hand. Emily spread the stack across my table like a dealer throwing cards. Dad, we talked to a realtor. If you list now, the market's hot. You could clear 300 grand, easy. Rick leaned back in the chair across from me, smirking like a man who thought he was already holding the deed. Condos over at Pine Hills are going fast. We even found one that'd fit you just fine. 1 bedroom, easy maintenance. No stairs for that bad back of yours. I stared at them, the steam rising from my coffee fogging my glasses. My own daughter, my flesh and blood, was treating me like a problem to be solved, not a man who had sacrificed every ounce of strength to raise her. Emily, I said slowly, your mother and I built this home. We raised you here. Every corner of this place has a story. Don't you remember Christmas mornings by the fireplace? Or your high school graduation party out in the yard? She crossed her arms, unmoved. Dad, memories don't pay property. Taxes. This house is too much for you. Rick and I are just trying to help. But it wasn't help. I could smell the greed in the air, sharp as vinegar. Rick pulled out a pen, sliding it toward me. All you gotta do is sign the listing agreement. We'll handle the rest. You'll thank us later. Something in me snapped. My hands shook. Not from weakness, but from rage I hadn't felt in years. You two think I'm a fool? I said, voice low but steady. You think I don't see through this? You're not trying to help me. You're trying to help yourselves. Rick chuckled, leaning closer, his breath reeking of last night's whiskey. Bob, you're living in the past. The sooner you let go, the better for everyone. This house isn't your legacy. It's just wasted square footage. Emily's face hardened. Mom would have wanted what's best for you, Dad. You're being stubborn. That cut deep. Using Carol's memory against me, like a knife twisted in the ribs. Carol had cherished this home more than anyone. She used to polish the wood banisters on Saturday mornings, humming hymns while the sunlight streamed through the stained glass window by the stairs. And now, my own daughter dared to invoke her name to pressure me. I stood up, the chair legs scraping loud against the tile. Conversation's over. Get out of my house. Emily blinked, shocked. Rick sneered. You'll regret this, old man, he muttered, as they gathered their papers. The screen door slammed behind them, rattling in its frame. I sank back into Carol's chair, heart pounding. Their words echoed in my mind. Burden, wasted, stubborn. But beneath the anger, a plan was starting to take shape. Because if Emily and Rick wanted a fight over this house, I was going to give them one they'd never forget. And I wouldn't be fighting alone. The Monday after that showdown, I drove into town. Millerstown isn't big. 2 stoplights, a diner. Everyone swears has the best meatloaf in Ohio, and a main street lined with brick storefronts that haven't changed much since the 1950s. Parked my old Chevy pickup in front of First County Bank. The air smelled faintly of rain and motor oil, and the courthouse bell tolled 9 as I walked inside. Linda, the teller I've known since she was in pigtails, smiled warmly. Morning, Mr. Hayes. How you holding up? I forced a smile. Doing all right, Linda. I need to see Mr. Porter if he's in. Mr. Porter was the bank manager, a man about my age with a salt and pepper mustache and a reputation for knowing. Everybody's business. He shook my hand firmly, leading me into his oak-paneled office. What can I do for you, Bob? I leaned in. I need to make sure my house on Willow Street is secure. No sudden transfers, no sneaky sales. It's been in my family too long to end up in the wrong hands. Porter frowned knowingly. Your son-in-law been sniffing around? Like a hound on a steak bone, I muttered. He nodded. All right, we can set up a protective trust or lock the deeds so nothing moves without your say-so. But you'll need a lawyer to draft it. That's when the idea solidified. Not only could I protect the house, I could choose who really deserved it when my time came. So I made another stop, this time at Henderson and Row Law. Old brick building, paint peeling on the trim, but inside smelled of polished wood and leather-bound. Books! Mr. Henderson himself, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, greeted me. Bob Hayes. Haven't seen you since the factory strike in '98. What brings you in? I sat across from him, lowering my voice. I need to change my will, and I want it airtight. He steepled his fingers. Family trouble? I exhaled slowly. My daughter and her husband think I'm nothing but dead weight. They want the house, but if I have anything to say about it, they're not getting a damn splinter. His eyebrows rose, but he nodded. All right. Who do you want to inherit, then? That's when I thought of Michael, my nephew, Carol's sister's boy. Hard-working, mechanic, never asked me for a dime, always stopped by to mow my lawn after Carol died. He respected this house more than my own daughter ever did. Michael, I said firmly, if anyone deserves this place, it's him. Henderson smiled faintly. Done. We'll draft it today. And don't worry, your daughter won't know a thing until the reading. As I signed the papers, A strange calm settled over me. For the first time since Carol passed, I felt like I had control again. But in a town like Millerstown, nothing stays quiet for long. By the time I walked back into Miller's diner for lunch, whispers were already circulating. Two old men at the counter stopped talking when I came in. Mary, the waitress, gave me a look that said she'd heard plenty. Emily and Rick would catch wind of this soon, and when they did, all hell would break loose. The day of the will reading came faster than I expected. Henderson scheduled it at the courthouse, in a small paneled room that smelled of old books and dust. The long oak table was polished, the kind of surface where every scratch told a story. I arrived early, wearing my best suit, the same one I wore to Carol's funeral. I sat alone, hands folded, heart pounding steady but hard. Then the door opened, and in walked Emily and Rick. Emily had her arms crossed tight, chin high, as if she'd already won. Rick strutted in behind her, smirk plastered across his face, wearing a flashy sports coat like he owned the place. They barely acknowledged me. Rick muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "Finally. About time we wrapped this whole thing up." Emily gave me a cold smile. "Dad, you'll see. This is for the best." I didn't answer. Henderson entered then, carrying the thick folder that held Carol's will and my updated documents. He adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat, and began. He read Carol's words first. Hearing her voice through his steady tone hit me like a brick. She'd written it years before she passed, but every line carried her grace and kindness. To my husband Robert, who built this home with me, I leave the right to live in it until his final day. I glanced at Emily. She shifted in her chair, lips pressed tight. Rick leaned forward, whispering to her, "Don't worry. Once he's gone, it's all ours." Then Henderson continued, moving on to the updated section I'd signed just weeks earlier. His voice sharpened, deliberate. Upon Robert Hayes's passing, the property at 412 Willow Street shall transfer in full ownership to Michael Carter. The room fell silent. Emily blinked hard, color draining from her face. Rick sat upright, as if he'd just been punched in the gut. "What?" Emily finally burst out, her voice echoing against the paneled walls. "This is a mistake. That house is supposed to be mine." Henderson didn't flinch. "Ms. Hayes, your father made." His wish is clear. The documents are legal and binding. Michael Carter is the beneficiary. Rick slammed his palm on the table. "You can't do this, old man. After everything we've done for you?" I finally spoke, my voice calm, steady. "You did nothing for me, Rick. Nothing but try to strip me of the only thing I have left. This house isn't just wood and nails. It's my life, my memories with Carol. And if you two see it as nothing more than cash in your pockets, then you don't deserve it." Emily's eyes welled with tears, but they weren't the tears of regret. They were angry, bitter tears of entitlement slipping away. "You'll regret this, Dad. You've embarrassed me, us, in front of everyone." I looked her dead in the eye. "No, Emily. I've given you a lesson. Some things can't be bought, and some people can't be broken. One day you'll understand that." By then, Henderson had already closed the folder. "This concludes the reading, unless there are objections, which, I assure you, won't hold up in court." Emily stormed out, heels clattering down the hallway. Rick followed, muttering curses under his breath. The courthouse staff, who'd been lingering near the door, exchanged knowing looks. In a small town like Millerstown, humiliation spread, faster than wildfire. And that was exactly what I wanted. But little did I know, Rick wasn't done. He wasn't going to walk away quietly. I thought that after the will reading, Emily and Rick would leave me in peace. But folks like them don't walk away quietly. They claw, they scrape, they stir the pot until there's nothing left. 2 days later, I was eating breakfast at Miller's Diner. Black coffee, scrambled eggs, rye toast, when Sheriff Daniels slid into the booth across from me. Big man, voice like gravel. "Bob," he said, leaning in, "Rick filed a complaint. Says, you manipulated your will under duress. He's claiming elder abuse." I almost laughed, but it stuck in my throat. Elder abuse? From me? Daniels, you've known me 30 years. I mow my own lawn, fix my own roof. The only thing Rick's ever lifted in his life is a credit card. Daniels gave a nod. I figured as much. Don't worry. Henderson already called me. Papers are clean as a whistle. But, just so you know, half the town's talking. Rick's been running his mouth at O'Malley's Tavern, telling anyone who'll listen that you cheated your, own daughter. I set my coffee down slow. Let him talk. Truth has a way of surfacing. And it did. Faster than I imagined. By the end of the week, Michael came over to help patch a leak in the barn roof. While we hammered shingles, a couple of neighbors stopped by. One brought pie, another brought tools. Word had spread. Rick and Emily tried to swindle me, and I'd stood my ground. In a small town, reputation is currency, and theirs was bankrupt. I heard Rick got laughed out of O'Malley's one night when he tried boasting about the house. Someone told him, "Funny, Rick, you don't own squat. Maybe buy your own before you go sniffing around Bob's." He nearly swung at the guy, but Emily dragged him out before he made it worse. As for Emily, she stopped showing her face around town. She couldn't stand the looks, the whispers. My daughter had chosen pride and greed over family. And in Millerstown, that kind of choice leaves a scar you can't hide. One evening, I sat on the front porch of the Willow Street house. The air was cool, cicadas humming in the trees, sun sinking, gold behind the fields. Michael pulled up in his truck, carrying a six-pack. We sat, cracked open bottles, and let the quiet settle. "You did the right thing, Uncle Bob," he said softly. Aunt Carol would have been proud. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace wash over me. Not triumph, not gloating, just peace. The house was safe, my dignity intact, and the people who tried to tear me down had only succeeded in burying themselves. I looked at Michael, at the home I'd built with my bare hands, and whispered more to myself than to him. Poetic justice. They tried to make me feel like a burden. Now they're the ones carrying the weight. And I leaned back, the cicadas still singing, knowing Carol was smiling somewhere. Tell us your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories.